I want to share about establishing healthy boundaries in all areas of your life. This is especially important for those of us who have come out of a relationship with a narcissist, because often if we had healthy boundaries in place and we knew how to enforce them, we wouldn't have been in that situation, or at least we wouldn't have been in the situation as long as we were. So boundaries are necessary in order to prevent the same mistakes from happening, but also so that we live full, happy, and fulfilling lives. So before you begin communicating with others about your expectations, you need to know your boundaries. You need to know them for your own self and implement them for your own self. Expectations and boundaries go hand in hand, because when you know where and how people fit into your life, you'll know what area to put them in and the boundary limits for that relationship. And this in turn will help you communicate your expectations clearly to them. And also, if they don't comply with those boundaries, your consequences and predetermined choices will be there for you to fall back on, which eliminates a lot of the relationship stressors that most people carry with them today. I spoke in a previous video entitled How to Explain Narcissism to Others about expectations. So if you haven't checked out that video after this one, or even right now, it's a good idea to go do so. Remember that you cannot impact other people effectively if you haven't first established those changes in yourself. So the first thing that you need to do is start setting up your own life. To do this, take an inventory of your life in every sphere of it. Do you know how to set healthy boundaries and expectations with people at work and in friendships? If not, how come? For many people, the holdup is fear, or that they weren't taught how to do this. So a lot of people are just extreme people pleasers, and they fear the consequences of not living up to somebody else's expectations more than actually not completing their own purpose and living a healthy life themselves. So you need to overcome these inner roadblocks so that you can communicate to other people effectively what your standards are, and also to be able to enforce those boundaries effectively. It's really important that you only set up boundaries that you're willing to enforce, and there are many reasons for this. First, with healthy boundaries, the chance of someone getting close to you that has ill intentions towards you is much more unlikely. Many people who have trust issues trusted someone that was never committed to them, and in actuality had given them red flags all along. When we have truly healthy boundaries, we see what is true and not just what we want to see. Those that deserve to be in our lives are there, and we aren't left for a time of crisis to show us who belongs and who doesn't. So if you're not willing to enforce the boundaries that you establish through consequences, both good consequences and bad, this is damaging to your brain. Your subconscious mind is taking note of the things that you say, and it's seeing that you are saying things, but you don't actually expect others or yourself to take your words seriously. Additionally, you're teaching the person who is taking advantage of you, if it's in a bad way, or the person who is trying to love you in a good way, that you cannot be trusted. And this leads you to lose out on an amazing God-appointed connection, or has you open up your life to somebody that should have never even been there. So when you set up boundaries and you don't enforce them, and you go back into old patterns of behavior, it signals to certain people, especially with narcissists, that they can take more from you. And this gives them the sense of more control in the moment. And this leads to all kinds of unhealthy behaviors from the other person, and an unhealthy, even more unhealthy relationship for the two of you. You're also communicating to yourself how you value your own self. Additionally, you're teaching those people around you, such as your children, your friends, your family members, that you are okay with this behavior. So you need to begin to plan how to communicate and enforce boundaries once you realize what your boundaries are. If someone is unwilling to respect your boundaries, how will you respond? What consequences are you putting in place for violations? This can take a while to set in place, but it's really important that you start somewhere, even with small things. If you are a people pleaser, work on just saying no one time this week. Sometimes when we set up boundaries, we lose people that were in our lives before, but that time is never wasted. It's in the solitary moments that we find out who God is and who He created us to be. So you must think about what you want most over what you want now. What is it that you want most out of life? How do you want your life to look? What kind of decisions and skills do you want to equip your children with? So after you ask yourself these questions and you take an inventory of your life and you make a plan to enforce the changes, you'll need to prepare yourself for that change. This could mean that there will be less people in your life for a season. And how will you cope with that change? So setting up the boundaries may cause some people in your life also to become even more aggressive. This is especially true if you're trying to establish and enforce boundaries with narcissists. So depending on where you are in terms of your relationships, it's important that you have thought through all of these scenarios. And if necessary, that you've thought it through and you've found a safe place to go if you're in danger. So in some cases, you'll need to do this ahead of time because you'll need to plan out your leaving very carefully. Even in the worst relationships, I just want to say it's normal and it's okay to go through a grieving process for the space that that person held in your life. It doesn't mean that you need that person. It just means that you're letting go of the expectations that you had for them to fill. Those were unrealistic, and you have been awakened to the truth that they were never going to fill them. You're transitioning into a new you and to a new life, and it's okay to grieve the loss of the old. When you begin to establish boundaries, it's most important that you recognize that trust needs to be earned. If I have never done a business deal with somebody and I'm hiring a person to do a project with me, we're going to have a legally binding contract drawn up. This contract is going to state that I will get a product or a service on a certain timeline, and in return, the other person is going to get money. There will be consequences, penalties, if he doesn't deliver, such as a loss of money, even a cancellation of the contract, and not to mention the reputation, the damage done to his reputation. I won't be recommending him to others. Likewise, I risk a lawsuit if I don't pay him, and also the damage done to my reputation and my future business. Many of us never learned how to establish and enforce boundaries, so we do worse things than entering into a business deal without a contract. We continuously invite untrustworthy people into our homes and invite them to be part of our families. We must start looking at our lives as a way for the kingdom to be established through us.
Thanks so much for watching my video. Be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you don't miss a thing.